Well, hey everybody, Backyard Scrapping here, and welcome to part 12. This is our final refine and tally. What I've done at the end of the last video, I pretty much said what I was going to do was just hammer his gold out after I took mine out, and hammer it out thin, and then just redissolve it again in aqua regia. But I decided, the way I'm going to do this is the way I do my own gold at the end, or at the end of the year when I tally up my stuff. And even if it's pure or near pure, or 99.5% pure, whatever it is, I like to actually inquart the gold. And this comes back from the days of my refining my jewelry scrap and things like that. If you inquart the gold, and I like to use copper, a lot of people use silver. I have my reasons for using copper, which I'll explain here in a minute, or I'm actually going to put another part of a video in here to explain this process. But I like using copper because it eliminates me having to do some extra work along the way with silver, and especially being the fact that it's not my, this is not my gold. So whatever's in it also isn't all my gold or all my whatever. It's all percentages. So anyway, I'm going to use this copper. I've got it weighed out in 3 different batches. Reason being is just my ability to melt stuff is kind of limited up to about 3 ounces. And if I put all this in together at once, it's going to take me forever to melt it. So I've done it into 3 batches that I know will melt fairly easy. And this process also eliminates a lot of crap. Eliminates any problems with silver. It eliminates any problems with pretty much any other metal, because we're basically going to dissolve all the base metals in nitric acid. Then we are going to get a gold powder, which we will then re-refine again one more time. And the powder we're going to get is going to be pure. It's going to be so close to pure or pure that, you probably don't even have to do it again. But if I refine it again one more time, then we know we have absolutely pure gold. So anyhow, let me quit babbling in here, and I'm going to get outside and go ahead and start melting these up, and we're going to pour it in a shot and get it in some nitric acid. So we will be back at you guys in just a bit. But what this basically is it's going to entail what's called inquartation, or inquarting the gold. When this gold is mixed like this, you may have seen other videos about it on YouTube and whatever, but to simplify it, nitric acid, there's too much gold content in this for nitric acid to dissolve it. Okay, so what you actually have to do, what inquartation means, is actually lowering the gold content enough to let the acid attack the other base metals and remove them, leaving only the gold. So also too, the silver in this can kind of can mess you up. Sometimes when I'm refining like placer gold or gold nuggets or fine gold, gold flour, whatever, but natural gold. A lot of times natural gold has a lot of silver in it. And what can happen with that, or a percentage of silver in it, if you're lucky, what happens when you dissolve the natural gold or gold flakes is you'll actually get everything to dissolve, and this is putting it directly into aqua regia, not just nitric acid. And then you'll end up with a little bit of residue in the bottom, which is actually going to be your silver that came out of the gold, that you can melt into a little bead of silver. Now sometimes that little bead of silver will actually still contain gold, and that just really depends on the percentage of your natural gold. But whenever you're doing karat gold like this, you have to go through this inquartation process, because if you actually just put this right into aqua regia, what's going to happen is the silver is going to lock it out. In other words, you'll get like a coating on it, and the silver will prevent the aqua regia from dissolving. I don't know all the chemicals. I just know from trial and error. So what you have to do is actually bring the level of this gold down to about 25%, and then that will allow dilute nitric acid, or like a 35% nitric acid, to attack those other base metals, and it will dissolve them, just leaving the gold powder behind, which is what you want. And a lot of times that gold that is left behind is going to be pretty pure. I mean, it'll be 99% pure or whatever, but it's going to be, fairly pure. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much copper we're going to need. Now, I use copper. A lot of people use silver. They use silver because it takes less nitric acid. Silver actually is going to take, 1.5, maybe 1 3/4 milliliters of nitric acid to do the inquartation, dissolve, where copper may take, 3 and 3.5, 3 3/4 milliliters per gram. But if you do the copper, you don't really have to worry about extracting your silver. Now, there's probably going to be a little bit of silver in it that's going to come out of this metal. So yeah, you would do a little silver drop in there, but then you're not having to worry about recovering all the silver you used. It's just one process. So I'd rather use a little more nitric acid and eliminate a step, by having to recover the silver and then recover the copper after that, where this way I can get a little bit of silver out by dropping it with muriatic acid or with salt, and then also just recover my copper as normal. So out of the nitric, out of the copper nitrate. So anyway, let's go ahead and go through this real quick and figure out exactly what we're going to need. This is going to be the first part of probably a 2 or 3 part video, but I've already weighed these up to save time because I knew I would be babbling about this, explaining it to you. And what we have here is we've got 11.4 grams of 18 karat gold. So we're going to need an X amount of copper for that and that. So we've got 11.4. So what we need to do is we need to take 11.4 grams, 1.4. We are going to multiply that by 0.75 because that's the purity level of this. This is 75% pure. So that 11.4 equals actually 8.55 grams of pure gold in this. That's what's here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take that pure gold weight and we're going to times it. We're going to multiply that times 4. And that's going to equal, so times 4 equals 34.2. So that's 34.2 grams in total. Now we're going to take that 34.2 grams and we are going to minus the original starting weight, which was 11.4 grams minus. So we'll minus that starting weight and we end up with 22.8 grams. So 22.8 grams of copper is what we're going to need to drop this down to 25% pure gold. So anyway, I've got my copper here. I'm not going to go through weighing it out and showing you that, but anyway, so we know that. The same process is going to be with this. The 14 karat gold, we are going to do the formula for that is exactly the same, but there's a different amount of gold in the 14 karat gold. So this I don't have weighed yet, so let me throw this on here. And I've already tested, you can see my little test kit is out. I've already tested all this stuff to make sure I was getting things right. And that ain't going to work because I didn't power my scale. So, alright, so we have 18.18 grams of 14 karat gold. So we're going to do the same thing. 18.18. We're going to times that. 18.18 grams. Now gold is 14 karat gold is 0.585 pure. So it's a little more than half pure. So we're going to multiply that times 0.585. That equals 10.63 grams of pure gold right here. So 10.63. Now we're going to multiply that times 4. That's going to give us 42.2 0.54, and we are going to subtract our original 18.18 from that, and that gives us 24.36 grams of copper that we will need to add to this to bring it down to 25%. So that's the basics of what we're going to do. I've got a little bit of 10 karat gold here, and you can already see I figured that out and put a couple little copper BBs in there. And I mean, and this is nothing. This is like a quarter of a gram. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mix all this up into one dish. I'm going to weigh out the copper I need. I'm going to put it all into a melting dish, and then I'm going to pour it into shot. And once we do that, then we will start dissolving this in dilute nitric acid, or basically, if you want to call it 35% nitric acid, and that should leave behind just the pure gold powder. Now we will actually, after we get the pure gold powder, we'll actually refine it again to make absolutely certain that it's pure. Okay guys, we have made it outside. I figured, being that I was going to inquart this, I actually have a few other things that I have to do. This is mine, and this is a buddy of mine's, local, some jewelry scrap that I'm going to clean up for him, and then this is Andrew's gold here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this. Naturally, it's all going to be kept separate because it's not all one person's, but I'm going to go ahead and get my torch hooked up and get everything set up to do this. I actually changed my formula a little bit. I originally figured this at 23 karat, which is 95, around, I mean very close to 95% pure. I actually jacked that up to 98 with the copper amount, which is about 23.5 karat. Just because I want to make sure there's enough copper in there. I mean, if it's already pure, which I know it's not, it's a hair off, but I just want to make sure that we have enough. The trick with this is you don't want to have too much copper versus gold, because then you're going to get a fine, dusty powder when you're dissolving it in nitric acid. The closer you are to that 25% mark, the better recovery of powder you're going to have. In other words, it'll stay clumpy and chunky as opposed to dusting out. Even if it dusts out, you're still going to get it all. It's just a little harder to deal with. So let me get my torch set up. I've got my old copper dish out because it doesn't matter, and we're going to go ahead and start melting his stuff off. Okay guys, we're going to get started on this first batch. As normal, time lapsing and no talking it's going to be in effect, so we'll be back in a bit. Okay, got some nice little bunches. Didn't splatter out. That's why I don't like to pour this very high. I actually want it to stay kind of together, as opposed to, you know, splattering it into little bitty tiny pieces. So that worked out well. I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff fished out, and we'll do our next batch. The main thing you got to do with this is you got to make sure that you really shake it up good and that it gets mixed really well. That's the key to inquarting it. It looks like you have a little bit of different colors, but I shook it for a pretty good while. So there is some little fine stuff in here, but we'll get it out at the very end. So let me fish this out and we'll do our next batch. Okay guys, there's still some real, I mean, tiny sand grain size stuff in there, which it doesn't matter because we haven't cleaned it out yet, but we will get every bit of that, because every bit of what's in there right now is 25% gold. So we are leaving nothing behind. We will get every little speck out of there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the second batch. Same thing. Okay guys, that copper actually acted like it had a little bit of palladium in it, the way it was sparking. So we've got that. I'll go ahead and move it out of the way. Our water's starting to get nice and warm, although it is about 90 out here today, so it's pretty hot anyway. And while this dish is hot, I'm going to go ahead and get this last batch in. We'll go ahead and do it, and then we'll get it into a beaker and get her going. We actually burned we burned a spot through our pot there. Anywho, we are all done. Nothing is stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and get this stuff into a beaker. And we'll do this. I'll do my other stuff separately because I don't want to mix any of the gold. So we will be back in just a second. Okay, we got most everything in our beaker, except for, I don't know if you'll be able to see that in there. In the very bottom of that pot, there's just some little, like, dust. But we are going to go ahead and do this. You might be able to see it now. I'm going to go ahead and put all that in there. Then I'll shake this up down into one corner and tip this beaker and get the excess water out of it. So I'm going to do that. Then let me go grab my calculator so I can figure some calculations on acid, and we'll go ahead and get this stuff dissolving because I'm going to leave it overnight. So and then I'll melt my other stuff, my off-camera stuff. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll get right back at you. Okay guys, according to the numbers, it's going to take about 1,100 milliliters of distilled water and ballpark 545, 550 milliliters of nitric acid. Normally, I've always found you can get by with a little less. That's why I rarely pre-mix anything. So what I've got in here is I've got about 800 mils of distilled water, and I've got a beaker over here with 400 mils of nitric in it. And what I'm going to do is slowly start adding that. Now remember, we're dealing with copper and nitric acid, so you want to do this very slow. If I was to just pour all that in there right now, that beaker would just blow. I mean, with that amount of copper and that amount of nitric acid, we would make one heck of a mess. So anyhow, that's our numbers. I did just do a light, I don't know how well you'll be able to see, but I did do a light HCl wash on this, and I rinsed it real good just to get the fire scale off of it, and to get the because if there was any borax or anything like that, I mean, I'm just trying to keep the, you know, keep the nitric from working as hard as it has to work. If we open it up, I've always found that rinsing it, you know, in a little bit of HCl kind of gets the, if you want to call it, pores of the metal open. And so this stuff can go to work faster. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got this other stuff in this other project that I have to melt. So I'm going to add a little bit of acid and see what kind of a reaction we initially get. And then I will get back with you guys. So I'll put it in right now so you can see. I'm only going to put in maybe 25 mils or so. Just a little bit, see what kind of a reaction we get. Because, like I said, we're dealing with nitric acid and copper, and that sometimes is pretty violent. So we've got that stirred up. And I'm going to just let this go for a while and see how the reaction goes. So we will be back in a little while. Okay guys, I had already put about, looks about like 100 mils of nitric in this when I had 800 mils of distilled water. I actually reduced that down a little bit. I'm going to go slow all the way, and I just put that other in here because nothing's happening yet. This is my jewelry stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little more nitric to this. Like I said, we're going to go slow and easy because that's a lot of copper in there. And I wanted to get some action a little faster than having to keep adding, you know, till we got up to that break point with 800 mils of water. So by taking out a couple hundred mils of water with a little bit of nitric in it, we can actually get this stuff dissolving a little quicker. So that's what I'm doing. Nothing's happening yet, so I'm just going to continue to add a little bit and wait, and add a little bit and wait, and we'll just pop in when we get a little action. Okay guys, we have reached our break point. We are actually starting to get a reaction now, so I'm going to stop putting nitric in it, and I'm going to keep a very close eye on it right now, because this is kind of a critical point where we can see where our reaction is going to go from here. I know if this was on the heat, it would have been a lot faster, but also there would have been more, you know, more to deal with. So we are getting some blue color already. I expect this is going to take off pretty quick. If it starts going too fast, I will add some, you know, water to thin it out so it'll slow it down. But I actually want a nice even, you know, a nice even flow. I don't want it going too fast, but I don't want it going too slow. So I think you've been able to see right here on the camera where we're getting some color. I'm going to stir that up a little bit, and then I'm going to start doing this other one so that I'm not just standing here doing nothing watching this bubble. So I'll start getting this one to that point slowly, this one here. So that, actually I may be able to put a little more nitric in this one, but like I said, I'm not going to do anything yet until I see what happens over about the next 10 or 15 minutes. So we'll be back. Okay guys, I'm just showing you we've reached a little happy point here. I might kick it up a little bit more than that, but it doesn't matter to me if it takes all night. I would rather have it take all night than boil over. So, and this is another thing I want to show you right quick. I purposely didn't do my gold. I didn't do a quick acid wash on my gold. And I'm going to show you, I mean, it's not going to be any big deal. I'll just have to clean it up a little more. But look at the difference. By washing that fire scale off, Let me see if I can get it up here. You see how cloudy mine is? That's my gold. I did it purposely with mine to show you. But I didn't wash the fire scale off, and there was probably a little borax on it. So you see what happened. Same stuff. In fact, even the same fluid, because I actually poured that fluid into this jar. You know, took some of it off. So that's why I like to do that quick little acid wash. Like I said, it's just going to be a few more extra minutes of cleanup for me, but I wanted to show you the difference, you know, in what happens and why there's certain things that I do. So anyway, this is pretty much going to do exactly the same thing it's doing right now for the next probably day. So I'll get back to you when we have some gold powder to look at. So we will probably see you tomorrow. It's getting kind of up in the evening a little bit, and I'm about ready to go sit down anyway. So we'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, I just came back out for a minute to check on this and add a little bit more nitric to it. I know I said I was going to stay in, but you know, I got to come out. I got to do this at least once or twice in a video. But anyway, our solution is at right about 17.5% nitric acid right now. So it's actually about halfway to where it needs to be. But we're going to have a lot more room in the solution to absorb all that copper. So we are going to continue on. I may get up to about 1,000 mils adding nitric acid, and then I'm actually going to mix some distilled water and nitric acid to 35% and add that from then on. So we'll probably end up holding at about a 30%, somewhere in that range, because I want this to stay calm, because I'm not staying out here with it. So my other one, like I said, it's coming along as well, my stuff. But next time I'm gonna clean it. Like I said, I did that just to show you the difference. So I've actually got this one running a little hotter and a little faster, because I'm not as concerned. It's my stuff. Should an accident happen, it's my stuff. That's not. So you got to be doubly careful with something that's not yours. Alright guys, I'm going to head in. This time I'm actually done for the night. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay guys, it's been about 2 days. I went ahead and just let this go. I poured this off yesterday and added a little more nitric and a little more distilled water to make sure we got everything. I'm not seeing any action in there. That's my stuff and my buddy's stuff, and I'm not seeing anything in there, but that's irrelevant. That I'm just going to set aside. I got to go get my tripod, and what we're going to do now is we're going to get this rinsed. I've got a pot of water going. We're going to boil up some water. We're going to rinse this till it's absolutely clean, and we're going to boil it in some water for a little bit, and then we are going to put it in aqua regia and do our final refine, drop, and melt. So I will be back at you guys probably when we get to that stage, because I've got some other things I'm going to have to do in this video, and I don't want to take up your time being redundant. I do that enough, even in my talking. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and do all this stuff, and we'll actually probably just wait until we get back to the melt, and we'll pop back in on the melt. So I do have one other thing I'm going to have to do, silver check and clean up the silver that we did get, and get a weight on that. Okay guys, this is the pour off from our that's our silver chloride that we got out of the other part of this refine, so a little bit of silver. This was our last inquartation. I'm just going to show you real quick. I've got my rock salt and my water. We're going to pour this in here, and we are getting no reaction. So I thought there would be a little bit of silver in that, but I guess not. So that's a good thing. I've actually gone through the process. I'm doing the final rinse and boil on this. This is actually in distilled water now. Everything else has been done. We are ready to get this in a dish, get it melted into a button, and that will be that for this refine. In fact, I can turn this off now. I may actually show this, converting this little bit of silver into back into metal and melting it up, because we have to do that. That's also part of the refine. So let me go get the camera stand, and we'll get back at you when we're going to convert this silver chloride. Okay guys, for those of you who haven't seen this process, basically what I'm going to do, this is silver chloride. I'm going to convert it to silver oxide, and then I'm going to convert it to silver metal, and then we're going to rinse it and clean it and melt it. This is all the silver that came out of this refine. You saw in that other clip that our re-refine or our inquartation didn't pull any silver. So basically all you do, you can use this stuff, or you can just get straight caustic soda or lye or whatever. It's all the same thing. But wait, what we do is we're going to put this in here. Now this is an exothermic reaction, so it's going to get really hot. And we're going to just stir this up in here, making sure that we get rid of all the white. Which is our oxide. Make sure that we convert that all down. We're going to get a little bead of silver anyway. We're not going to get tons, but we're going to get a little. You can see that's all turning black. And like I said, this gets pretty hot when you do this. So can't avoid the dinging sound because I got to crush all these little balls up and get all that white converted over. I'm going to put a little bit more in here, and this particular drain cleaner is just 100% lye or caustic soda. So I've got this going. I think that's actually good enough. Now there are several ways to convert this into metal. You can use straight sugar, you can use corn syrup, or you can use glycerin. Now I prefer glycerin because the glycerin does not stick like the sugars do. It'll mix right up and it'll convert it right out. So let me show you right quick. What you want to do is make sure that this is all, I don't know if you can see it, but it's all black. There are formulas, you don't need them, just use your judgment. I'm actually going to get this, squirt this all down in here in the bottom so that we're all in there. And now I've just got some glycerin here, and this will do the same thing as any of your other syrups or sugars, but the nice thing about it is it won't ball up on your stick or get sticky on you. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and then this is going to turn everything a gray color, which is back to our metallic silver. And then we can rinse it and clean it and melt it. So shortly we will see just how much silver we got out of this refine. Put a little bit more, and that's probably going to be enough. I don't know if you can see that, but it is converting over gray. It's hard to see in a jar, but in a beaker it's easier, but I don't like doing this in my beakers because I don't care if I ruin a jar. And I don't really like scratching and digging in my beakers with my rods. So we're getting a pretty decent little change of color down in there. Put another drop just to be safe. And I'm going to rinse this in, I'll rinse it in boiling water, and then we'll throw it in a silver dish and we'll melt it. So the bottom of this jar is really hot. So I'm not seeing any black, everything's gone over to gray. I know it's hard for you guys to see anything, but I'll show it to you when it's in the dish, you'll see it. So we'll get back at you in just a second, and then we are going to do our final melt on our gold for this refine. And then we're going to get back to our game. So, alright guys, I'll be back in a sec. Okay guys, I'm not going to go through all the major steps of cleaning this up and everything. I am just going to go ahead and melt it. There is our silver. That's a byproduct. It is a little dirty, but this wasn't a silver refine, it was a gold refine. So I'm going to get this in this dish, just like normal, like I would do with gold. I'll get this melted real quick, and that will be that. And like I said, this is actually a byproduct of our gold refine. So I mean, there's probably a couple dollars worth of silver here. It's probably worth doing. I'll get it back. I'm going to go ahead and melt it off camera because I don't want to. My battery's getting low, and I don't want to go hunt my other battery. And I don't actually. It's the same as any other melt. So I'll be right back and we'll show you the button. Okay guys, there is our little button of byproduct of silver. For all I know, this may, contain a little palladium. It probably does. I don't know for sure because I don't really mess with palladium or platinum group metals. But even though basically 25% of this is mine, I'm just going to return it to him. For the simple fact, I'll just return the whole thing just in case there is palladium in it. That way he has, everything that he expected out of this refine. It may very well have it or not. I'm going to toss it in the pickle pot anyway, but this will go back with his gold. And I'm going to move this stuff, and we're going to go ahead and get ready to melt that gold. So we'll be right back. Okay guys, here we are. We've got a nice, great, big, packed full dish of nice, fluffy gold. So I'm going to do as usual. We're going to go real slow with this and get the water off of it first and get her melted. Okay guys, we got stopped up right in the middle of this. We had a rainstorm blowing rain in here. I don't know if you can see, I was putting my hand up, and our battery went out on our camera. So I guess that battery's no good. So anyway, we're about halfway there. I'm going to go ahead and continue on. It actually looks pretty nice like that. Well guys, we were going to have a hard time doing this no matter what. We were actually running out of oxygen then too. I don't know if you could see it pulsing, but we got it. I don't know how, because I'm dead on zero on oxygen over there. always the hard part with a bigger. Got a little cave in the center I can see. Sunk down. I'm just seeing spots right now, but I'm going to go ahead and get this in the pickle pot. Okay guys, there is our gold and our silver from this refine. This is Andrew's end. My cut has already been taken out. So this is the silver after it came out of the pickle pot, and it's a little dull looking, so maybe there is a little palladium in it. I don't know. I don't mess with palladium, and I especially don't mess with it when I'm doing other people's refines, so that's why I'm just going to return this whole little piece here. This is our gold. You can see where we had our cave in. You can see where I goofed up when I was taking it out and scratched it, but these things are hard to get. That's really hard to get a hold of when it's that big. And it's, you know, hot in the melting dish. It's a booger sometimes. Let me show you one more pick. This is a picture of it on the scale. So we lost in our final two refines, our inquarting and our last refine. We only lost. There was no silver in it, which was surprising. I thought there was going to be silver in it, but there was basically about 1/100th of a gram of something. Because we started the refine when we were doing just his part, we started with 39.74 grams or 39.75 grams, and we ended with 39.74 grams. So we lost almost nothing. Alright guys, I am going to pull up the other pictures and show you, and we can start playing our little guessing game now. I'm going to go back over the last video and check the comments, and we'll see who got closest. But anyway, I'll show you. I'm going to put up some pictures and show you what I started with, what we ended with before I took my cut out. That was where you guys were going to guess. So we'll be back in just a sec. Okay guys, so here's our picture from our last video, and we'll just briefly go through these real quick and show them to you again. So we know what this was, what we were guessing about. We were guessing about this right here. So now I'm going to run over to my channel. I'm going to pull up that video, and we are going to see who got the closest guess. And then we'll come back and I will go over that with you. So real quick, I'll pull up this one picture and show you, and then I'll go over it and explain it with you. So let me just pause here for just a second, and I'll be right back. Okay guys, this is the same picture. I put the weights down for each one, but this was the weight, the total weight of all these combined. So let's go ahead and run over real quick, and we'll look it up, and then I'm going to explain to you about, or I'm not explaining, but I'll just go through all this with you real quick, and then we can wrap this video up and wrap up this refine. Okay guys, we are at the channel. Let's go ahead and click on the video. So I boiled it off and rinsed it, boiled it high. Pause it off, back to here, and let's see, our target weight is 53.05 grams. So let's go ahead and start right off and see what we got going on. So we have 28, 35, 33.3, 23.7. I'm not going to read every one of these, but I'll just take the mouse and go over them real quick. So we don't have anybody very close yet. I think Josh is the closest so far. 31. Let's see. 26 through 36. I like that. That's a good one. Okay, Frank Zahn, 45.2 grams. That's our largest That's our largest guess so far, right there. 33.6, 29.3, 66. Okay, but I know 66 is 16 over. This is a lot closer. That's 7. So that's 13 over, thereabouts, quickly looking at it. My calculator in my head used to be good, not anymore. 32. Clinton's at 28.4. 36. A lot in the 30s. 46. Justin Brunner. So we've got 46.7. Let's see. 46.7. And let me go see real quick what that other one was. Put the other one in the 40s. .2, so he knocks Frank out. Alright, so 46.7. Let me just jot that down real quick. And let's see if we got anything else. 39. A lot in the 30s. Oh, Jeff Goring, 54 grams. Okay, Jeff, so you are now the front runner. Okay, he's only off by 0.95 grams, so that's pretty good. Troy ounce, 32, 24, 40, good guess, 40, 32, 40 another one, 30, 34, 35, lot in the 30s. 45, 16, 40, 33, and that is it. So I will get this video here and I will tag it. If I can find it again. Sorry to be dragging you through this. I have brain damage sometimes. Alright, Justin. No, not Justin. Who is it again? I see, I told you I got brain damage. Jeff. No wonder. I'm looking for Justin and it's Jeff. Alright, let me go to that. Find Jeff. Jeff Holmes. Jeff Goring we need. Yep, right there, 54. So we will pin this video. And we will go back up to the top. And we will heart that video and we will reply. I'll do this all in a bit, guys. So let's go ahead and get back over to the main part of the video. Okay, guys, we're back at our picture. As you can see, Jeff Goring was the closest at 54 grams. He was just a little bit off. I mean, that was a good close guess. So real quick, this is what I started with when we did these little mixed ceramic chips. I didn't think any, I didn't make a guess. I thought we'd get more, but then after I weighed them, what was left, the broken up ceramics, we actually did we did good. We did better than I expected on all of this stuff. When I did that first drop, the copper top BGAs, that looked like a gram or less of gold to me. After I cleaned it up and did it again, I knew this was a bit bigger. But the copper tops, I was expecting 2. We got 3.05, which was, like I said, better than expected. This one thing I noticed about this entire refine was the gold powder was very, very dense. It was very deceiving. This, even after I put it in, it looked like about 1.5 grams of powder, 2 grams of powder when I put it in the dish. Just from seeing it all the time. And then when I melted it up, I knew it was 2.5 or bigger. I could just tell by looking at it. So anyway, that came out better than expected. The regular BGAs, I was hoping for 5.5 based on a mix. Most BGAs yield between, and this is me. I don't know what anybody else. I've seen some ridiculous claims out there that I've never had happen. But anyway, I usually get from 7.5 grams up to about 12.5 grams on regular BGA chips. And it seems that the more Intel BGAs there are, the higher your yield. So I would estimate, I've seen people do some videos out there where they're getting 12 or 13 grams, and I think they were doing mostly all Intels. So the more Intels you have, the better your yield's going to be. I based it on the low of 7.5. We had almost 3/4 of a kilo, so I said 5.5, and we actually got what I normally get out of a kilo of mixed. So there were 7.5 grams for that bad boy. Our processors, I was very leery about these, very leery, because it just, a lot of things, they had the aluminum bond wires. It seemed like the gold was more flash plating than heavy plate, which obviously it was heavy plate. It just didn't look like it. I forgot to write this down, but this was about, I think it was 4.25, 4.5 grams. This button here, that was from the backs. That was also very good. I figured when we were doing the bucket, worst case scenario 7.5 grams, best case was 15.5 grams. I think we had right about 14.5 grams. So almost, up to par with Pentium 486s. So that was, again, a surprise. The two together, almost 20 grams. I was really shocked with that. The fingers, I actually I didn't guess, but I actually did expect around 20 grams. I had 17 to 20 in my head. I don't think I ever said it, but this is what I had in my head, just based on past experience. These actually did a little bit better because that 1.5 kilos they were old, older stuff, so it was heavier plating. So anyway, guys, our total initial refine was 53.05 grams before I took my cut. You saw earlier what his cut was. Jeff Goring actually came in at 53.05. So Jeff, if you're out there watching, I pinned your comment in that video, and in the description area is my email address, and way to contact me, or you can go to my website, www.backyardscrapping.com. When you guys are going to my website, if it pops up and says it's not secure, just type in https://backyardscrapping.com, and it'll pull up the secure pages. I don't know why some browsers bring it up as it's not secure. The site is secure. Anyhow, also too, I want to mention one more thing before I go to the other creators out there. Guys, I'm not commenting a lot. I don't have tons and tons of time, and I do most of my YouTube watching and at night after I'm done, and I watch on the TV. And the only thing you can do on the TV is like the video. There's no option to comment. And I'm usually laying on the couch or stretched out in my chair, so I don't have the computer on or in front of me or whatever where I can put comments. But I am liking your videos, guys. I am watching as much as I can. I just want you to know that I'm out there. When I get on and upload a video, I try to go watch a video or two, at least drop a comment here or there while I'm on the computer. But it's starting to be. I never expected to get where I am right now, and I like to read and answer my comments as best as I can. So and I know sooner or later is going to become a point in time where that's going to be impossible, because that's another whole day just reading and answering comments, or afternoon anyway. But anyway, guys, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series. I had a good time doing it. We had one small mishap and a couple unexpected things come up, but hey, that's what it's about. That's what happens when you're doing this stuff. So everybody take care, stay safe, get this nice pretty golden stuff, and we will see you in the next video.